This week's recommendation for books to read is Transformed by Remi Adeleke. Now, this book may be one you've heard of or you may have not, but I probably would take a large guess that you have seen Remi on the big screen. He has been in the Transformers movies. He was one of the Navy SEALs portrayed in that movie that took it out, and he's also been in some future movies because he's had a career that's moved into more acting and even directing. But the origin of his story is a guy from Nigeria in Africa coming to New York, losing his dad, almost not getting into the military, having a few people that showed up in his life that gave him the right oomph and the right direction and also the right determination, because he joins the Navy and he ends up being a Navy SEAL. And part of that story and almost not happening, but then also going through all that is what's just really transforming, as the title of the book means. But this book hit me in a way because I first read it, I think, right as Corona first started locking down the world. And it's an intimidating book. It's pretty thick. And I remember thinking like, oh man, this is going to take forever. But I had just started 75 Hard, which different episode for that, but started 75 Hard where you got to read 10 pages every day. And it was this weird lesson in reading books, that reading 10 pages a day and just watching your bookmark progress through the book. Because on the outside, that book looked intimidating, but then taking it in bite-sized chunks, 10 minutes at a time, I got through it pretty quickly. And I was surprised at how quick I was able to get through it. This book, I would also recommend for anyone out there struggling to understand how a shit story can lead you to a place of triumph and a completely different lifestyle. Because I would take a big guess, and I've had Remi Adeleke on Military Veteran Dad as well. You can go back and check that episode out. But when I talked to him, part of what he understands, and it's even progressed even more, is that young boy or young man back in the day, back in the beginning of his story in Brooklyn, New York, he wouldn't have imagined how his life worked out. There's not probably a single thread that could have been like, I could imagine directing a movie coming from that type of story. And it's one of those stories that allows you to enter into a belief, because you see it and witness it as you're reading it, that life works out better than you currently can even understand. That it works out better than you can imagine. And often we don't think enough about that leads us to a place that gets started. That leads us to a place where we can lead ourselves to moving forward. In this idea of transforming yourself, finding your story, finding what your story can do, it can move mountains. And it moved mountains for Remi as well. And again, the story, it's a hook, line, and sinker, because you want him to win throughout the book. And you know he wins because he's writing the book and he's got a story that was worth telling. But it's one of those that catches you into it, involves you in the story, and leads you to a place that you want him to win. And you also then see yourself winning. That is all I have for you today. Your book recommendation of the week is Remi Adeleke's book called Transformed. This will be the last book recommendation. I'm going to pause the habit. We've been doing it for probably like 4 months now, so this will be the last book recommendation. So might be something new on Monday. Maybe not. Maybe I'll tease it a little bit, but we're going to pause book recommendations for a little bit and go back to our regular scheduled Monday programming of awesome episodes of how to get better at being a dad and how the business world is more like fatherhood than most realize. There's just a few things you need to twist and shift your mindset to become dad that you've always wanted to be. Talk to you again tomorrow.